It's another port day for us today. You might have seen the Pajero was the last thing I showed in the last night's video. This thing's really cool. Setting up transport so that it can get picked up, ready to go to its new home. This thing's cool. I don't know if you saw this rocket of an exhaust. It's just a tip, literally. Wow. But it's a really cool car. I had a Pajero. I've had several Pajeros actually, and I've loved them. They're actually really cool cars. They're very capable, like the Jimneys, but people like the Jimneys a whole lot. But we're gonna get into this one. We're gonna head down to the car that we're headed to the port with, and then we're gonna go from there. Kind of an easygoing day today. We'll be driving this one back, thankfully with the dealer plate, so that's good. Hopefully this starts up and it's not too cold. Means I gotta get the jump pack. So fun times being in the cold in the Northeast when it decides to drop down below certain temperatures and kill the batteries, especially when I don't drive these cars. Again, this one is for sale. It's $10,000. If you're interested, reach out to Alex. He'll be able to help you out with it. Getting some provisions, aka gas, before we head to the port because we were on E. Got Patrick over here. I think I need to just bite the bullet and replace this battery. I translated. I think that says it just needs a charge, but it's been on the charger. It's been back in here. It just won't hold a charge, but check out what's over there. The Mira, Gino, and the Jimny. They're waiting a detail from the detailer over here. Just made it convenient. Still go to Teggy's. If you still need your detail needs, still hit up Teggy. But I'm gonna jump this thing and hit the road. Ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely need a battery because I've been driving so long and it didn't want to start up. For sure needs a battery. Oh, and the slider's working. It wasn't working before, but now it's working again. I gotta put the door back together. I think it had something to do with the battery being so tight. So driving to the port, and then I realized this. That's a student driver bus. It's kind of interesting. No blinkers. I think they failed their road test right now. But we're almost to the port. It's, what time is it, Patrick?
It is 11:45.
So it's 11:45. Fun fact. The port is actually already closed for lunch, so we're a little early / late. So we'll hang out for a little bit until they get their lunch done. Oh, excuse me. And then we'll go pick up the Mira. So we're back at the port. You missed the part where we pulled this out because it was quick. 1, 2, 3. Wanted to get this guy out of here. But check out this very clean Daihatsu Mira walkthrough. I think the coolest thing about this, besides the fact that it's a Mira walkthrough in America, you'll see in just 1 second. Just 1 second. It's turbo. Now listen to this. One more time. Music to my ears. That's right. Turbo Mira walkthrough. Look out, Nick. You're not the only one that's got one now. In the New York area, I should add and be more specific. This thing's sick and clean. Horn doesn't work. We're gonna have to fix that. That's sick. This thing's battery, I think, is shot because every time we turn it off, we gotta jump it. So Patrick will drive this. I'll drive the Mira walkthrough. We're gonna head over to the gas station, pump this bad boy full of premium gas, and start driving back to Mamaroneck. So I'll give you some point of view driving in just a little bit so you get an idea. This was a Woody Pecker car, which is pretty cool, pretty impressive. They built it, so I think there's a whole video about this, not by us, but I'm sure Woody Woodpecker has one. Not Woody Woodpecker, it's Woodpecker has one somewhere. So yeah, let's get to it before we lose gas. Patrick's gonna drive that, I'm gonna drive this. Ready, Pat? All right, so first impressions, shifter sideways was just cool because normally you would hit it there. That's pretty baller. hazard switch is moved because, as you saw from Nick's when we did the dashboard, it's kind of annoying having it here, having it near the dash. As you just saw, a horn, but it's a continuous long horn. And then it's got a Mira dash cluster. I think we're gonna have to do this. This steering wheel isn't bad. I think it's pretty cool. In my opinion, I think it deserves a Nardi, and maybe Rob might agree that it deserves a Nardi, but I'm kind of curious to know what Rob thinks about this. But ready? Wow. No way. Wow. Whoa. What you know about a Mira that does... You don't have a turbo Mira, I think you're slacking in life. But this thing is nuts. And this cluster fits it very well as well. I kind of am in love with this thing already. 80 kilometers, cruising, no issues. Kind of curious to know if it's got a 4-speed transmission. Let's see. No, it just looks like it has a 3-speed transmission. Driving here in this port area is just so bad. Roads are literally falling apart. It's terrible. Bumps everywhere. Truckers that don't know how to drive, like cutting you off like this. It's just nuts. But first impressions is I need a turbo Mira as soon as possible. I've always said a turbo anything car, like K car, it'll blow your socks off. Anyways, let's go get gas. All right, so we're gassed up. Patrick's getting ready to go. We've cleared out the windshield and made a couple shorts. This jump seat is pretty baller. Let's close the bus doors in the rear. That's shut. Let's close these. Those are shut. I like this mirror, it really makes a difference. But I'm gonna drive this from Jersey to Mamaroneck, New York, and get it home to its new owner. So first impressions of driving it on the actual highway, not just through, from the port to the gas station. People are filming, which is actually really funny because they don't really know what these things are. So we're going over the George Washington right now, and this thing is kind of amazing. It actually holds up really well. The gas gauge wasn't working at first, and then I honked the horn, which is kind of interesting. It's a switch, not like a button, and monetary button, I mean. And it started to work, so that's good. Maybe it was just something loose. But overall, I don't know if my speaker's picking it up, but it sounds pretty awesome. So you definitely drive a Mira walkthrough because you get smiles, not because you're trying to go fast. But then this one, it allows you to do kind of a mix of both. So overall, first impressions, I'm actually genuinely, I like it. I don't mind it. I had a Mira walkthrough myself that was so slow compared to this. So this is like just a walk in the park now. Like it's amazing. Actually, more like running in the park. That's how fast it is. But I would genuinely, I think I would daily one of these. Nick from way before the fame has one available that has seats in the back, which in my opinion is even better because then you can fit your family in it, like your kids. I don't know if it has seatbelts, but it's still pretty baller. They do have ones with like windows, like mine had. Obviously the pop-up window. I have a kitchen one coming, so that's pretty cool. Overall, I think everybody should own a Turbo Mira walkthrough. We'll keep going here. I need to see my GPS in just a second. So I'm gonna put the phone down, look where I'm going, and then I'll update you some more as I drive with it some more. Finally get to open it up. We're at 100 kilometers right now. And this is a great representation of how a Mira walkthrough handles in general on a windy road. We're at 90 kilometers right now, going on some pretty gnarly curves. And it keeps up. It's not throwing you all over the place. You don't feel like you're gonna be blown over. You don't feel like you're gonna get thrown over, but let's pass this car. Let's see. $120 right there. It has the power to go. Now, if you've ever driven a regular Mira walkthrough, you'll know that this isn't really all that possible. I think mine peaked out. I could probably get it to go 130 downhill, but to get it to go 120 off the rip like this, it was not possible. But this turbo Mira walkthrough, yeah, this thing's sick. I don't know if I'm going to use this footage in the port day video or just in the video about the Mira walkthrough in general, but so far, I love this thing. I don't know that Rob's going to be able to keep it. I might have to take it home. I need another promo vehicle for Mendy Imports, and a turbo Mira walkthrough would just be the perfect one. Fuel cut at $1.40. This thing hauls! Oh my gosh. This is insane. Oh my gosh. I think the guy behind me is kind of like, how is this bread box ice cream truck looking thing driving so quick? Let me tell you, Japan, that's how. Woodpecker. Shout out to them, because they built an incredible machine. And Rob, if you're watching this video, I'm very envious and jealous of you that you bought this. And now I, Mendy Imports, need a turbo Mira walkthrough. It's just finding the right one at the right price, that's for sure.
It looks a lot better driving than it does parked, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's freaking...
But is it weird to see a bread box on wheels?
Oh yeah, this thing was whack, but it's so cool. I can see your whole back outlining the seat. It's freaking insane. But no, this thing's freaking cool. It's clean too. Nice paint job. So
the best part you'll see in just a second. I'll see you later, Patrick. This is the best part. Damn. All right, so I thought I was gonna make a port video today. Port video is down the hatch. Let's just talk about this Mira. That's how excited I am about this thing. If you know me, I had a Mira walkthrough as well. Mine was a 94 if I'm not mistaken. It was white, it had strawberry wheels, it had a different front end to it. And it was just, I loved everything about it. It had windows on the sides, had like these custom seats that somebody built on the back of it. And it had actually the door that, you know, it's like a hatch that opens. This one though happens to have bus doors, and this one's just completely different than what I had. It's just insane what this is. I just picked this up from the New Jersey port, and I drove it from New Jersey to Mamaroneck here. And let me tell you that I am genuinely impressed by the just sheer amount of power that this little bread box thing has. This was built in Japan by a company called Woodpecker. Rob reached out to me and was like, hey, I like Nick's Mira walkthrough. It's turbo. I like your walkthrough. He was going to buy mine, but mine didn't have any wow factor to it. He says, I want to find one in Japan. Can you help me find one? I said, sure, Rob, I'll help you find one. He kept reaching out. You know, we became good friends. Rob and I are really good friends now. And then he sent me the link to this one that was for sale on Woodpecker. And so he sent me the link to another one that wasn't turbo, but it was really nice condition. It was well done up and everything. I think it had the turbo front end because it had the hood scoop, if I'm not mistaken. If I can find the pictures, I'll maybe try and put them on the video. But then he came across this and he just was like, I need this thing. And I was like, no, you don't. You're crazy. But now I am glad that he was crazy enough to want to import this thing from Japan into America. Because let me tell you, everything about it just screams nuts. It's just insane. We're here in winter right now in the East Coast, while in America. When I'm filming this, I guess everybody's in winter in America. But roads are like kind of disgusting. So it sucks that I had to drive it through this, but I had to come home. But everything that they did to this car, from the color to the wheels to the engine, which I'll show you in just a second, I think they hit it right on the nail. Normally, what Miras are is basically, in Japan, they took a Mira, just a regular Mira vehicle, and they made them into vans, and they made them for utility purposes. So this probably would have been a vehicle that they used in Japan to deliver, whether it's milk, whether it was just like produce, whether it was just boxes in general, like maybe UPS, USPS, or whatever. This is what this was used for, and that's what their intended purposes were. But then when people like Woodpecker got a hold of this, they made this into this craziness. And now let me just jump right into the hood so I don't make super long video about this, because I think it's already super long. We'll talk about the interior in a second, but first of all, let's talk about this massive hood scoop, which, by the way, isn't even like functioning. It's not a functioning hood scoop, which is kind of nuts. I don't know why they wouldn't make it functioning. Yeah, it's completely not functioning, which is kind of insane. I'm not sure why. Let's get this hood prop. Yeah, that's kind of nuts that it's not functioning. I wonder why they did that, but maybe it's just for show. But this right here is a turbo Mira Gino engine, transmission, and everything. So if I'm not mistaken, I forgot the year of this one. It's an L500V. So you'll see in the dash, it's different than my Mira walkthrough, which I never got a chance to make a video of my Mira walk. Different interior, different just kind of things here and there, but overall a Mira is still a Mira. This just came with a different dash and a little bit more upgraded things. But they basically took the Mira Gino engine and they crammed it into this. But they didn't cram it, because the Mira Gino is still a very small car and it's still compact. So the crazy thing about this is, I'll show you once I get to the inside, it actually has an OBD2 port, because I believe this is from a 99 Mira Gino. And so we have the warm air intake, we have what I call the colostrum bag, which I'm assuming that's for, yeah, that's what it looks like. It's just for the sprayers for the windshield. We have the tiny little turbo right there. We have the blow-off valve, that's the stock blow-off valve, which hopefully Rob will choose to change. And then we have the intercooler here. We have the battery, which looks brand new, which looks awesome. And then we have the brains of the entirety of it. So as you can see, normally things would go here, here, and they've kind of just taken it apart and put it all into here. And so now you get this amazing vehicle. And I believe this is front wheel drive, not rear wheel drive. They did come with 4-wheel drive, but let me show you the underneath, because the underneath is pretty nuts on how clean it is. It's just immaculate. Woodpecker took this thing and they restored it to basically look like this. I don't know, I think there's a video out there, and I think Rob found it, but basically said all the specs of this. But this will hit 140 with no issue. It unfortunately does cut off fuel at 140, which is kind of a bummer. I wish they had an ECU that would let it go past 140, because let me tell you that this is so capable. I did say in my video earlier, or maybe you'll see the clips later, that it does kind of, it doesn't roll or anything like that. On bigger curves, because of the weight of it, as you can see, like, it will kind of want to topple over to one side. I think fixing that would just be putting a strut bar in the front like Nick has, and then putting a strut bar in the rear on the bottom, so it just stiffens up the suspension a little more. The wheels that they decided to go to, I think, blend very well. I think they might have been from a Mira Gino, but I'm not 100% sure. That's awesome, because he's got brand new tires on it already. Just overall super cool. Like, the attention to detail that they added was interesting, because in the interior they didn't do much. They just kept it the original. You have the jump seat. There's no windows like mine had, or like Nick's has, which is you know, his fold out window on that side. But it does have the bus doors back there. Has an automatic transmission. There's a couple things that was kind of interesting that you know, I wasn't sure why they didn't add it, or why it wasn't added to begin with, but normally it does have a piece that comes through here, and it's just kind of I guess you could say your glove box. That's the only thing missing here, and then normally this is how you see it. I'll go around the other side in a minute, but I'm assuming what they did was they added the ECU here because this is, if I'm not mistaken, you don't normally see this in our regular Miras. And then it looks like they did some more wiring over here. But what was interesting, when I was at the port, I found that this thing actually has an OBD2. Yeah, there it is. Has an OBD2, so it's from a modern car, so it's definitely 99 or new. Could even be a 2000, a 2001 Mira Gino, to be honest with you. Some of the things they had to do to probably finesse the wiring harness was, normally these go from left to right, but they had to use the knob so that you can turn the heat on and off. And normally you would have you know, the switch here to make it from off to eco to on. Now you just either have it on or off. Right now it's currently off. And then they didn't add a radio, which was kind of interesting. Sometimes manufacturers do, not manufacturers, but aftermarket people don't worry about certain things, or maybe they finish the project and that's it. So the cool thing is Rob will get to add a double DIN radio into here to make it, you know, bump and do whatever he wants with it, which is really cool in my opinion. The difference between the L200V and the L500 was actually just the dashboard. The dashboard is what changes. Normally on the L200, if you ever saw my Instagram or if you ever saw my post or Nick's videos, you can watch them, but basically they have the cutout for the radio right here, and it's very tiny. It's for single DIN, and then this is incorporated basically into the dash. So instead of being fixed like this, it's just flat on the dash. This is there, this is there. And it was interesting, they did things like this, and let me go around to the other side. They did stuff like this where they put the hazard switch on there. Normally on these, the hazard switch is right here. If you watched Nick's video when we removed this dash and put the Mira Gino dash in, you'll know that this had a button here, and we actually had to shave the button down to work. But I do like that they did this modification, because it gives me hope that if Rob wants to do the Mira Gino dashboard, we'll be able to do the Mira Gino dashboard without any issues. We still have the fog light button here. And then for some reason on these turbo Miras, the horns don't work. They relocate the horns to this. In my opinion, this is kind of bad, because this is what happens. The horns stay stuck on, and that's not, it's not the best. But what they did add here, normally you would see this fuse panel. I think there's one more. I have to look back on my Mira, but I think there's one more, like not cut out, but part of the dash that comes down. But if I'm not mistaken, there isn't. And normally this fuse box is further back or tucked away, and I believe this is from the Mira Gino box that they took it and they just incorporated it. Because what you basically have to do is you have to take a Mira Gino and transplant everything that a Mira Gino has to the ECU, which in this case is right there, the cluster, because that works with everything. So now you have a tachometer, you have a speedometer, you have a heat gauge, a temp gauge, and then you have fuel gauge. You have that stuff in a regular Mira, but normally it's just a speed gauge and these two gauges, and then what the Prindle is. Another interesting thing that they did was they turned this sideways. I'm not really quite sure why. I do like it. I think it's different. What else did they do that's different? It's interesting. They painted the outside very nicely, and I love it, but they left the interior white. There is some imperfections. I mean, these are things that any Mira that you see will have. They're kind of just notorious for certain things, and as you get them, you kind of learn these things. But I love that they kept the jump seat. The jump seat's there. They kept the original headliner, which is interesting. I think you could switch this up and do pretty much anything you want with it. But what was interesting was they added these eyelids here, and I'm not really quite sure why they added the eyelids. It's got a nice Broadway mirror, which is really cool, and then obviously your lights, which they work, and then your sun visor, which looks like it was maybe modified, but it looks like it might be the original one. Huge windshield, which is something that I love about the Miras. And then it's really interesting, they all have this, literally all of them. So I wonder if this is how they hit a pinch point from the door or what. But if we go to the back, we have like the regular vent that's normal for them, that changes the cabin pressure. Then if we open it back here, you open the bus doors, and then you get to the back, which the back is huge. I'm trying to get the camera out of the sun, but the back is huge. You know, I'm 6 feet tall, This gives you a reference, so I don't know how tall that would be, I guess. Probably cut from there up, so maybe, I don't know, 3.5, 4 feet tall. Overall, pretty cool. I think this would be a great candidate to do just about anything with it. The spare tire is normally under here. This cover is where the spare tire would be. I'm kind of curious to know if the spare tire is actually there. I don't want to pull it up just because it's very cold and brittle, and I don't want to rip these up trying to get these up. But overall, let me tell you that forget about it being a Mira walkthrough. I think that's cool, but it makes it so much better that it's a Mira walkthrough with a turbo, and the fact that it's painted nicely, has a beautiful front end to it. You know, I like the classic front end. Rob really wasn't going to get this one because he wanted more of the classic front end, but he ended up getting this one even though he wanted the classic front end. But I love it because the Mira is engraved essentially into the bumper with slots that actually cool the turbo down as well, which is really interesting. Overall, I'm genuinely impressed with it. I definitely want a turbo Mira walkthrough. I think they make a world of a difference to own one with a turbo versus owning one without. I think it's completely night and day. Don't get me wrong, they're really cool, but I didn't even do the best part. This is why it's awesome, because you could pull up at the light, put it in neutral and go. You can't do that with your normal Mira walkthrough, but you could do it with your turbo Mira walkthrough. So I don't know, this build, in my opinion, I would probably give it an 8 out of 10. The reason it doesn't get a 10 out of 10, I think for mechanical purposes, I give it a 10 out of 10. For cosmetic purposes, I give it probably a 7 out of 10. And the reason being was, I wish they would have finished the interior to really tie it in. But again, these are minor things that can be changed, that can be added. I probably would have done a real gnarly steering wheel. This one's not bad, I don't love it. I do like that they kept the original bars. Mine did have a Recaro seat, which was really, really cool. And what was really cool about it was that it actually had an armrest. And you don't really think about these things when you're driving a Mira, but let me tell you that they make a world of a difference having an armrest. It's that much more comfortable. So maybe adding a Recaro seat to this one and with an armrest, I think would make this one even more. I think it would make it a 10 out of 10 across the board. Paint is just, I wish the camera could pick it up. Maybe it does, but you could see the sparkles. They did it. They did a great job. The sparkles are matched with the burgundy up top, and the line that they did right across the top was just perfect. I mean, overall, just like I said, it's just an amazing Mira. So I did ask Rob, hey, you brought this in, what would you sell it for? If somebody was to be watching this video that I made about your Mira, what would you let this thing go for right now? Mind you, I have picked it up. He has not seen it in person. Well, he did see it in person at the port, but he didn't really get to experience it. So it's like, it's his first time kind of like seeing it. And I said, Rob, what would you sell this thing for right now? So I can tell all the people that are gonna watch this video. And Rob said that he would let this thing go for $20,000. So if you want this Mira walkthrough, it's yours for $20,000. I don't think anybody's going to take him up on that. Maybe not now. I think the market for these is shifting. I think Mira, in general, they're very expensive before they leave Japan, depending on the one you get. But I think a turbo one, I think the market's going to start to come up. So in my opinion, if you buy this for $20,000, I think it'd be a great investment because they're getting harder and harder to find in a clean condition. And this one is very, very clean. In my opinion, would I pay $20,000? No, but that's because I import cars. But should you pay $20,000 with a title ready to go? I think so. And if you're going through a midlife crisis, if you want something that like makes you stand out more than anybody else, I think this is the vehicle for you. Why, you might ask? Because when you can be on the highway and hit 80 miles per hour with a truck that looks like it should be delivering milk or bread or ice cream or packages, I think that says it all. I don't think I need to say anything else about this. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you got to see a glimpse of what the abilities of this Mira and what it can do and cannot do. I would drive this thing across the country tomorrow because I probably would pack it up in here. I would get a sleeping bag and I'd sleep here from here to there, and I would build out the interior a little bit, and I would tour this around. I think what Nick is doing with his is going to be really cool. His is going to be a pop-up shop. What you can do with these is so amazing. You can turn these into just about anything you want. This would be such great promo for your business, just for you in general. Like, I kid you not, all your neighbors are going to be like, what the heck is this? And you're going to be like, exactly. So I think I'm going to end this video here. You saw me driving it, or I'll probably insert clips of me driving it afterwards after you see this part. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. If you want help finding one of these, let's get you one in Japan. Let's see what we can find out there. They do have different front ends. I will add, this is a different cluster, but the cluster in here doesn't look bad. For how you're looking at it most of the time like that, it looks perfect. You'll never see the edges over there. I think Nick's was a little bit different, but overall, I think this van, this Mira walkthrough van, is pretty legit. I think once Rob really does it up more with the sound, with the speakers, with the interior, whatever he might do with the interior, I think it'll be worth more than 20 grand. So him offering it at 20 grand right now is kind of nuts, and people are like, nah, thing's not worth 20 grand. But once you come and drive this for yourself and experience it, I think you will realize that it actually is genuinely worth 20 grand, in my opinion. And maybe you don't. I don't know. I mean, what I've learned in life is anything is as worth as what somebody's willing to pay for it. So, would you be willing to pay 20 grand for this Mira walkthrough? Essentially, it's a Miragino walkthrough is what I would call this, with a turbo that makes the cool noises. I'll let you be the judge.